Don, welcome to technical tidbit number 2. This is Don Lloyd here. He's our technical sales manager here in Georgia. Don, if you don't mind introducing yourself a little bit, tell us about some of the things that you like to do.
Well, hey, Michael. My name is Don Lloyd. I've been here at Swagelok for 36 years. Love working with Swagelok products, and on a private note, I collect old Lionel toy trains and enjoy World War II aircraft. It's what I do for hobbies.
Don Lloyd, what is your favorite aircraft?
That would be the P-51 Mustang, one of my favorites.
And why do you like the P-51 so much?
The historical nature, and like everybody else who ever sees one, they're cool, slick, and the sound they make, there's nothing else in the world that sounds quite like them.
Love it. Don, I have one quick question. This is the most random question. What's the most expensive Lionel train you've ever seen for sale?
That would be a Lionel Blue Comet, which is a standard gauge train made previous to World War II, and they're anywhere upwards of $10,000.
Do you know where I can find one
right
for like half the price?
Yeah.
Because I would love to find one and sell it to you. All right, Don, so today for our technical tidbit, we're going to be talking needle valves, just some background, some general information around them, and try to better understand. So, Don, when I am selecting a needle valve, what are some things that I should consider?
Well, that's a question we get quite often from our customers. And to start, we typically start with something called stamped, and that would be size, temperature, application, media, pressure, end connection, and demand. Once those things are met, we can kind of narrow it down because we make many, many needle valves, and we can then figure out exactly what the component would be to meet that particular need.
Very interesting. So what you're telling me is there's not one needle valve that can go across all applications. There's a lot of them.
Absolutely. We make them in a variety of materials. We make them in a variety of pressure ratings. We make them where the stem packing is above the stem threads, and we make them with the packing below the stem threads.
Interesting. So, Don, what are the two most common needle valves that Swagelok probably offers?
Well, the number one would be the general service needle valve, and that's called an integral bonnet needle valve, where the packing is above the stem threads. Then we make a severe service needle valve that's capable, we'll say, of up to 6,000 to 10,000 psi, where the packing is below the stem threads. Those are the two major types.
All right, so you talked about packing above and packing below the stem threads. Can you explain that a little bit more in detail? And maybe I'm curious, if I choose the wrong one, how would I know that I may have an issue?
That's a really good question. And basically, we'll start with the packing above the stem threads, which would be our general service needle valve. In that particular case, here are the actuation threads. The packing, which keeps the system media from escaping out the stem, is above. Now, this is fine when you're using something in hydraulics, oil, air, water. Those applications, this system would work fine. However, if you're using this valve in an application that may be using an analyzer or a chromatograph, the lubrication on these threads may have a negative effect on the reading of that particular instrument. Also, if you were to put a valve like this with the packing above the threads in a steam application, the steam would eventually take away the lubrication, and the valve would be increasingly difficult to open and close over time.
Interesting. So you have a little example there of packing above the stem threads. Do you have one for packing below the stem threads so we can see?
We do, absolutely. Once again, this would be the packing setup in a severe service needle valve, where here we have the actuation threads, the packing is below the threads, and that would protect the actuation threads from system fluid like steam. It also would prevent system contamination of the lubricant of these threads getting into the system that may have a negative effect on something like paint.
Interesting. Very cool. So one more question. You kind of hinted at this a little bit earlier. Is the stem tip? What stem tip options and what should I be thinking about as I'm trying to select a stem tip?
Another really great question. Let's say you're working and taking a needle valve like this as a shutoff on gas. You may want to use a soft stem tip, in this case, KLF or Teflon, something along those lines, to make a seal on gas. Or perhaps if you were using this needle valve in a system that may be slightly dirty, this might work better because it would absorb some of the particulate. If your system requires regulation or throttling, you may want to look at an all metal stem tip and go with either a V or a regulating stem tip, depending upon those flow requirements your system may require.
So based on the two metal stem tips, would one of them give me a better advantage as far as controlling my flow, or are they pretty similar in that standpoint?
That's a great question. The regulating stem tip would give you the greatest flow control, but it's going to have more turns from full open to full close. The V stem is more for course regulation, but would take less turns to fully operate open to close.
Very cool. Well, Don, thank you for joining us on a technical tidbit Friday. One final thought. What can we go into the weekend with Don Lloyd's thoughts that matter?
Well, enjoy the weekend, spend time with the family, and we will get through all this and we'll come out stronger at the other end.
Love it. Thank you, Don.
Thank you.